afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday already, and it's crazy how fast time goes by. So today we're here with Let's Get Real with myself and my wonderful, beautiful sidekick, Nicole.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here, and you're right. It just feels like we just did this a few days ago, and it's already time to get real with everybody again. So I'm really excited that we're here.
Perfect. And as we move on, today we have a beautiful guest that's going to be joining us in a couple of minutes. But somehow we've had some technical difficulties. So any of you that are watching and maybe see that there's a chance that you're not seeing that we're in sync with our voices and our mouths, us women, we just keep on going. So it's not your computer. We're just having some of our own difficulties with here. But, at the end of the day, it's what we always say, the show just has to keep going on no matter what the situation is.
Just like the circus. So we might be just like a circus today, juggling balls and, trying to find conversation. But we can do this, Glenda.
We can always do anything because you know what? Whether you can or you can't, it's up to you, whatever you do, right? And
Absolutely.
we all know we can do it.
Right. That's right. And I do see that it looks like Lea got back on. And I'm just going to do an introduction of Lea Gerlock. And, if I were to tell you everything that Lea does, honestly, I wouldn't do it much service because she's got so many amazing qualities, so many designations. So I'm going to read it to you because I think that's the best way to get this across. Lea Gerlock is the founder of Personal Chapter, a certified professional coach and core transition dynamics specialist. She is an energy leadership index master practitioner. Try that one at home. And specializes in guiding solution-minded women, helping them navigate the turbulent water of separation and divorce, empowering them to find a safe harbor within so they can confidently write their beautiful next chapter and create the life they love, one full of renewed hope, unbridled success, and limitless joy. Her areas of specialty include mindset, vision clarity, emotional intelligence, and management, and also conscious design facilitation. I've worked with Lea post-divorce, and I can tell you that has helped me tremendously. I wish I would have known her during my divorce because honestly, had I known some of her tips and secrets, I could have shown up much differently than I did. So I'm really happy she's here. And Lea Gerlock, my friend, how are you? Did I read everything correctly?
My heart. Oh my goodness. Thank you for your kind words. Being in your world, in your space has really allowed me to grow and evolve as well. So, it's that law of attraction, right?
It is.
Yeah. So,
and the cool thing is, all three of us here have that mindset, that law of attraction, like attracts like. I mean, it's a great space to be in when you're like that because all of our vibrations are really high and we merge with our ideas and our paths.
Absolutely. And I can tell you while you're navigating divorce,
Yeah, I can talk about
like
that.
energy attracts like energy. And so you feel like you're on this hamster wheel, not getting anywhere. So yes, absolutely.
Glenda, I know we've talked about divorce, and for me, it was really the roughest thing that I had to go through as an adult. I think it was traumatizing at times. There was great sadness at times. There was looking back and wishing I'd done it differently. And there was
scaredness, right? Feeling really scared because not knowing it's another world that we're going through.
Yes, exactly. And I beat myself up a lot. I don't know about you, Glenda, but there were times that I'm like, oh, if I would have just done this or that, or, so I'm really excited to hear what Lea can teach us today.
Well, first and foremost, I am a certified life coach, and really I'm passionate about helping women to live their life by design and to create a life that they love. But helping women navigate separation and divorce is near and dear to my heart because I've experienced that tsunami personally. And I truly do understand how difficult it can be to navigate those stormy waters. And it is possible, reaching that point of feeling tranquility and freedom. It is possible, even though it doesn't seem like it is right now.
So I think we're all on the same page, and that's why it's going to be such an incredible session today because all three of us have been through divorce. I've been through two sessions of one major divorce, and the other one, since I was common law, it was handled some similarities, but I handled it very differently myself. So, I believe that what we learn sometimes teaches us for things in later of the year. So it's I'm telling you now, for ladies, and if we have any fun listening to us today, get out your papers and pens because we got a lot of golden nuggets we're going to drop today. We're going to help you through. We're going to make you feel like you've just hit on the lucky number 3 because we've got 3 wise women here that are going to share the wisdom and help you grow. And actually, let's hope that we can help you even to find some type of a shift.
Absolutely. That's such a perfect way to put it. Because even if you would have told me like 5 or 6 years ago that I could sit here and talk about my divorce openly and honestly, I would have never believed you. And then, along comes Lea and explains so many things to me logically. So
no pressure.
Start spreading those nuggets, girl.
Well, the first thing that I recognized when I was sitting across from him at the lawyer's office is, how I was showing up. I was so emotionally charged. And if you are showing up to those conversations emotionally charged because you are still looking at things through the lens of your perception of your relationship, well, then all hell's going to break loose. And so you're not really accomplishing what you want to accomplish. So yeah, it's emotional management, but it's about uncovering, what it is that we want to accomplish here and through what lens are we sitting in those conversations. Listen, relationships in general are personal. And when it's personal, we are so much more emotionally charged, which is what's at the core of us making emotional decisions and having emotional reactions. So if we're looking at things through the lens of why me, I shouldn't have to deal with this. I don't think I can deal with this. I can't, the thought of life alone is daunting. How am I going to survive financially? We're basically looking at it through the lens that we don't have the control to make a change, or we are sitting in anger and resentment. So how we show up to those conversations will determine how much stress we have and how those conversations are going to go. So we really want to be aware of that. And the more aware we are, the more choices are available to us because we see so much more of the story. And then as a result, we're able to actually leverage our talents and our gifts with less stress, with less pressure. We're more productive. And, we end up just being more confident and happy in general. So that was the first step for me, and recognizing my triggers.
So we also have to look at that for all of us to realize, when we look at things, I think if we can shift it a little bit, if we can actually also realize that there's 2 sides to every story. And when we can sit back a little bit, and I always say, take your heart out of it and put your business hat on. Because the best way is to become more on a business level instead of emotional. And that takes some work to do that. It's not as if you can just all of a sudden just do it. It's work that needs to be done. But if we can look at it by realizing that, taking in the emotion out and seeing that we can look at it on both sides of the coin, because you know what, it turns into being a circle. He does something that pisses you off, you do something to get back, and it just keeps going back and it keeps elevating.
Yeah, but to turn off that logical, analytical part of our mind, what happens is fear and self-doubt come into the picture. And so the question is, we know we want to make a change, we're just not quite sure how we can go about it. And I actually always say the first thing we want to do is make peace with where we're at, because if we're focusing on where it is we are, not where we want to be, then all of our energy is focused there. The next thing is you want to make peace with your emotions, because your emotions is your guidance. It's telling you everything you need to know. And a lot of times, and I know myself personally, I stuffed my emotions. I didn't want to feel. So, you binge watch Netflix, you drink, you eat, whatever the case may be. That's when you're feeling really powerless. And you want to get rid of the old stories that you've been telling yourself. And I mean, for me, what I started was, you don't have to work with me personally to benefit. I started a community where I bring all of myself to this private community where you get all these tips, not if you're just going through divorce, but we focus on certain areas of our life. And the end result is we all want to be heard. We all want to feel loved. We all want to feel inspired and empowered. We want to give also. So it's about breaking things down in bite sizes to be able to really live life aligned with your values.
And I really love what Glenda said about putting your business hat on. But what I'm going to bring up, I was never able to do that. There was just too much emotion involved, 25 years. And even when I'd get in the car to drive to my mediation appointment, I'd be like, oh my God, it would just, my stomach would just, oh my gosh, I dreaded it so much. And when I got there, because he'd really been in charge per se of the money and the work and everything, for me to have done that flip like that and say, put on your business hat. My business was my house, my kids, my volunteer work, the pets. How would you advise someone to be able to do like what Glenda did, which honestly, if I'd have done that, I probably could have had, a house on the beach, not across the street from the beach, but hey, I'm not complaining, but how do you navigate that switch? How do you flip that switch to business?
Well, it's a process. I mean, the first thing is you want to recognize what's going on here. So, for example, I made a lot of fear-based decisions based on thinking he knows better than me, decisions based on not wanting to rock the boat.
Yeah.
We have children. We are worried about, how we're going to do it financially, caring for our children. We want to protect them. And so there's so much going on in our head. So we're making these fear-based decisions. So really, we need to get to know who we are at the core in order to start leveraging who we are. And what happens is you end up saying bye-bye to fear and self-doubt, but it's a process. And, the process doesn't take years to happen. We're reframing our beliefs that are unconscious to us. There's a lot of beliefs that we're just not aware that are running our day. And so we're bringing awareness to those unconscious beliefs, and we're reframing them, and we're actually stumbling upon the fact that our truth is not necessarily our truth. And so when we realize that, I mean, we reframe things and we're so aware that we can catch it quickly. And so in the present moment, If somebody says something to you, you are instantly able to respond, not react, because we're not taking things personally, right? Like I said, relationships are personal. And when it's personal, we are emotionally. So it's about not taking things personally. Listen, everybody is doing the best they can with what they know and what they have at the moment. They're not specifically out to get you, they're out to protect themselves. So we can't wait for someone to change in order for us to feel good. It's about taking responsibility for ourselves. And sometimes there's some hard truths to look at.
Yeah.
But those hard truths, those shadow sides of us, that's what frees us. That's exactly what frees us. And it's not about looking at that side of us to beat ourselves up. And we are queens at beating ourselves up and talking ourselves. And then, recreating reality and perpetuating those beliefs, because we're finding evidence of it everywhere, because that's what we're focusing on. So it's not as complicated as it appears to be, but it's about surrendering and believing that it can be a different way, and then we create it together.
And just having that, having that bit of confidence in ourselves that, and and here's where sometimes if you're not going to a professional, even to have a friend who will at least be able to hear you out.
Right. When you're in a state where, okay, I know I want to make a change, I'm not as comfortable as I was in my comfort zone, living in the land of good enough. I need to make a change. Now, yes, you can Google, you can watch YouTube, you can read books, but literally having someone hold your hand, not only navigating those storms, but thriving through it as well. And even just comprehending that that's a possibility. And with far less stress, with far less of a cost. I spent so much money that I did not need to spend because I didn't believe in myself and my ability to advocate for myself. But I can't blame him for that. But guess what? I did. That's all the codependency stuff that happens that you're not even aware of within your marriage. And then, asking yourself, what do you want your divorce to look like? Because we get lost in the nitty gritty and the details, right?
The things that are really not important at times.
Not at the end of the day.
No.
Right? So what do you want it to look like? I wanted to leave a legacy for my children. What divorce can look like. If you would have told me years ago when I was going through the divorce that I would have the relationship that I have with my ex, I would have put money on it that you have no idea what you're talking about. But guess what? What I wanted is what I focused on. And I did the work, my inside work, to get to where I wanted to be with our friendship. Now, listen, it's not always like that. I do get it. Everybody's situation is different and unique to them. But I held on to that belief, right?
And that changes things so much because, when you have a bit of communication with your ex-partner for your children, and it all comes down to, I'm exactly the same way. And nothing matters except for the children at the end of the day, because what children go through, and it doesn't even matter what age level those children are at, but when those children go through divorce, they're being injured all the time. And it's little things like, even if you decide you're not going to use your child as a messenger and your ex just says something, tell your mother so-and-so, that child or could be an adult even at that point, they are feeling like, they're caught in the middle. And that's one of the most important things that we have to do when we're going through divorce, is not bringing that child into the middle of it.
Absolutely. And the conversations are not just as you're navigating the divorce. The conversations are co-parenting. And I remember once one of my sons, I have 3 grown sons, and one of my sons said something to me. And you know what my response was to him? This was after I chilled out a little and wasn't in that anger place. It was more in forgiveness and acceptance.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I've never done this before. I'm new to this divorce thing as well. And so I'm figuring it out as I go. And I didn't know I was going to say that, but that's what came out of me. And it was so comforting to him. And it was like a light bulb went off. It's like, oh yeah. Like, because they look at you like the mom who takes care of everything, who finds a solution for everything. And so being honest, but being honest in a way that you're not putting the other person down, right? Now, am I guilty of that in the beginning? Yeah, I was full of rage and anger, but that was part of taking responsibility for how I wanted to live my life. I wanted to hold that pen this time. I wanted to say goodbye to codependency. I wanted to hold that pen and create my future the way I wanted to. And, we really do lose that belief in ourselves, and we question ourselves. We question every decision that we're making, and it doesn't have to be that way.
No, well, it becomes, anytime you've been married for a long time, you miss the times when you could ask somebody's opinion. So now you're on this road, and it's a road that you're on by yourself, basically.
And there's some lonely times when, even though you have your children around, because I at that time had both mine living with me, which was a great comfort at the time, but I can't depend on them to be my best friend. Where's the money going? They're still my children. They don't want to be mired in my mess, nor do I want them to be. I had to be very cautious with that.
No, listen, it can be very lonely. And the difference between having a coach holding your hand and asking for advice, at least for me. So I asked a lot of people for advice. And what ended up happening was it cost me more money because they were giving me advice based on their personal experience. And because I didn't have enough belief in myself that I could handle it, I took their advice, very well intended advice, but it wasn't for me. And so I was searching outside of me for all the answers. And the truth is that even a coach can't give you the answers. The answers are inside of you, but the coach can hold your hand and sort of piece together all the clues and, what's working, what's not working, and really uncover your truths so that you can start moving forward with that.
And the other part is what the coach, why is so important. It's also asking those appropriate questions to make you think of things in a different way. I also did the same thing through my first divorce. I used my lawyer. So needless to say, my legal bill was over $200,000. I was in debt.
Yeah. Oh, yikes.
Because you go there for emotional support.
Right.
You're not going to get it, but you keep going there for it, right?
Well, exactly. And, that's why, I learned a very hard lesson. But it's true of, sometimes even if you have a coach and you're able sometimes to even take that coach with you, and, some coaches offer this and some coaches don't, but to go to an appointment, it's just like going to a doctor's appointment. If something major is happening, we don't always hear things the way we need to hear things.
Absolutely.
Good point.
You know what it is also? So what the coach does is set you up for success. And what I do is I have a team where the things that I do not specialize in will be covered through a different coach. So for example, you're at the time where you need to sell your house. So, real estate, mortgage broker, lawyers, mediators, whatever it is. If the finances, me personally, I never took care of the finances. So you feel so overwhelmed because you don't know where to start and you have so much to learn. And guess what we do when we're overwhelmed? We procrastinate. We stay in those terrible feelings, right? So I have a team where, that's your specialty. You're going to go there. However, I am at the core setting you up for success in all those appointments that you have, right? And that will definitely save you money in the end. But most importantly, it allows you to start to feel that confidence and really lead with your value and lead with what you want. And that's the most important, because the whole point is that we're trying to create a life of joy and success, abundance, happiness, a belief in ourselves. And I could go on, but I mean, it's true. We, at the core, no matter what, this is what we all want, right?
And as I listen to both of you, you're both amazing coaches. I want everybody to really absorb what you're saying, because I went to group meetings of divorced women and places where all they did was bash. They bashed and demeaned and put down. And that wasn't helpful to me at all. If I'd have had the wisdom of either one of you, had I been going through all that, I don't know that my outcome right here would be different, but that journey through divorce would have saved me so much anxiety and grief and heartache, helping me to understand that is what I want. I want my happiness. I want my health. I want,
Well, and that's a great experience to go through, because all experiences are an opportunity to really get clear on what we want and what we don't want. Now, keep in mind also that energy entrains, right? So the dominant energy is what wins. So when you're in a group where they're still in a space where they just want to talk more about it, and what, as I said, what you focus on grows. So the more you're talking about it, you're not in a solution-minded brain yet. You are more in that space where you need to vent, but that's the dominant energy. And so what happens is, if you're not in an aligned place and in a higher energy vibration,
Mm-hmm.
then you will entrain to that lower vibration. So again, it comes down to us doing our work. And so eventually people will entrain to your energy.
So, and what it does also is it calms you down. So, the whole thing, what starts out with divorce, is you feel as though life is taking away from you. You're spinning because you've lost control. Even though, you might have only had a certain amount of control, there was still some form of control in your life. So now at this point, you have lost control. So that's one of the major things, that when you have somebody else that is walking you through, or what should I say, holding your hand a little bit, at least there's somebody there that has your back. And it allows you time to just be able, even that simple thing of being able to breathe, that changes everything in your own body.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like what I said before, by creating the awareness of where we're at, how we're thinking, how we're feeling, and how we're showing up, will really change the trajectory of things for us, because either we feel we have no power, or we're actually giving our power
To somebody else.
externally to others, but we don't realize we're doing it. You know why? Because we think that what we're doing is protecting ourselves. So we got the boxing gloves up, right? And that's the way to keep people at an arm's length. And so, but we don't realize we're doing it. But when we do, we could actually use our anger to our benefit. And people are completely shocked when I say to them, well, let's use some of that anger, because, a lot of people grew up with, no, anger's bad.
Especially women.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So when I show them how to use their anger, well, it's like, so it's all about being constructive and using that energy that's constructive and healing, instead of that catabolic energy, which is destructive and draining. And so we learn a lot about the energy behind our thoughts and our emotions, and the way we act, right? So it's really powerful stuff. Yeah.
And Lea, I'm curious about something because I see that we have a gentleman in the audience, David. So what I'd like to know, generally we talk about the women and how to navigate it. Would you be giving the same advice to a man?
Absolutely. There are many men who are being bullied in their marriage, and they don't want to rock the boat. And so they end up staying in their marriage a lot longer than they'd like to, because there's also programming of what the husband should be and do in the marriage and what they shouldn't do. And we want to break those generational beliefs. We need to care more about how we feel and be true to ourselves, because that's the only way that we can, first of all, attract the relationships that we want in our life. And with men also, they're really told not to show emotion, and even the ones that are showing emotion, they're not quite sure what to do with it. So I feel that men on many levels have a hard time admitting how they're feeling, because there's that macho, oh, suck it up, you can handle it, you can do it. And no, it's not like that. So it's fine, some of us have more masculine, feminine energies of both sexes, right? Like, it doesn't really matter.
We are made up of both. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, it's, you've been taught to be ashamed and feel guilty for how you feel. And that what happens is that means you're living in other people's expectations of who you should be. So always ask yourself, whose should is this, right? And it's almost giving yourself permission to start taking a look at who you are, who you want to be, and moving forward from there.
That's interesting. Yeah, because in looking back, the role I played, I should have an Oscar on my mantle. I really should, because I'm like, who was that? Who was that? And it's, I'm like, why did you do that? I sometimes question that. But
sorry, before I forget, because I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I was trapped in fighting for my limitations. I had these beliefs that, let me tell you, were not my beliefs, but it was what I was told over and over and over again. So by default, this is how I lived my life. And I was trapped in literally justifying my limitations of why I couldn't get out of the marriage, why I couldn't do this, why I couldn't do that. So we're not talking just about divorce here, right? And when you're trapped in that, because these beliefs, we've never questioned them before, and they really feel so real to us, right?
Oh, of course.
But
I was the victim. I felt I was the victim through the first part of my marriage. Didn't have the money, didn't know where to go, fear, poor me, poor my children.
And then we blame the husband or the wife for a lot of things that went wrong, when really, have we ever questioned why we entered the marriage? What was our part? And where were we at when we entered the marriage? Because I can tell you that I most certainly was not in a place to make a conscious decision about the marriage. Not that I have regrets, but we say that this and this happened, and we blame it all on our partner, when really I entered the marriage in a way, I was probably more in a victim mode of where, my thoughts and my emotions and what I thought the marriage would give me. Well, when we walk into a marriage with expectations and judgments, where do you think that's going to go?
Yeah,
exactly. Did I know that at the time? No, but I needed to go through that experience. So I'm not going to beat myself up now, but I needed to go through that experience to learn more about who I am, what I want, what I don't want. And, jumping into another relationship before you really get clear.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not happy without a relationship, you're not going to be happy with a relationship, because a relationship doesn't complete you. It's a continuation of you. And so that's a big thing, that a lot of people will become aware and then they jump right into action and go into dating without getting rid of what got them there in the first place. And what is that usually? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I can't do it on my own. You need to get rid of all those stories in order to really come together with a partner, because you guys share the same values. You guys share in your wholeness as an individual.
Yeah, and whatever you're saying of once you're entering in, it's also through the relationship. You really need to take a good look of what happened through the relationship, how you reacted to things. Everything tells a story. And so when you can sit back and actually look at, because it takes two to make a relationship, and it takes two to end the relationship. And if there's something going on, how else are you going to change if you don't become aware of what you did during that time that you were together?
Absolutely. And that's the only reason you look back, is for those learning growth experiences, that will help you and will help everyone, in your space going forward.
Yeah. And, that's so interesting because right after we separated and got the divorce, I saw that a high school boyfriend was single. And so okay, and what it did, I won't say all it did, what it did is help me understand that I would have jumped right back into something that was not healthy for me. And so I'm like, okay, if you did that quickly, you still have a lot of work to do. That was like a sock in the gut for me. And I thought, you kind of have the same NO as you look through your husband, your boyfriend, your relationships. I'm like, oh my gosh, Nicole, get to work, because and up until now, and we've technically been divorced since 19, and I have worked on myself a lot. Is that something you lead women through also, after divorce, or is it just through divorce?
Sorry, you cut out. What was your question?
Oh, I was just wondering if you help women post-divorce.
Oh, absolutely. That's where they are back in the driver's seat with that pen in their hand, literally writing their next chapter and creating the life that they love. That is, I was looking for that, and I found it in coaching. And that's absolutely what I do. It's, first we need to get through that storm. Like I said, we're talking high emotions here, and there's a lot of twists and turns and unexpected challenges. And then it's not until that's done and that we can go through the healing process, and then move towards, okay, what do I want my next chapter to look like? Now, going on those dates are fantastic. I went on a couple as well, and they were great learning experiences, as long as that we're able to look at them as learning experiences, not opportunities to beat ourselves up that we're not there yet. Listen, we will never ever get it done. We are on a journey, so we might as well have fun and enjoy the journey. It's just the willingness every day to show up for yourself, care how you feel, and work through stuff. And not work through stuff like I'm doing the work, right? You want to take aligned action. You want to feel inspired and empowered. I used to be in this mind frame where go harder, go faster, go, just do, where I was never still enough to actually tap into my intuition, for that matter, and get messages, which I get them all the time now. And I laugh because it's like, oh my God, this thing was so easy, but I just complicated it and made it so hard. And so I don't remember what my point was, but anyway, yeah. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Well, and it's so interesting because as I reflect back, by doing the work, I've created a path of my own that makes me happy. And I'm not selfishly saying I'm living it for me right now, but I've brought my health back. I exercise with my yoga, with my meditation. And I don't think people understand that that's really not selfish. to care for yourself post-divorce. You know, you don't have to jump back. I had a lady tell me, you'll feel so much better if you get on one of those websites. She goes, they'll tell you you're pretty and they'll buy you dinner. It's like, I can buy my own dinner.
That's what I teach. I teach people, actually, I'm going to say something, and it's something that Abraham Hicks says. I teach people to be selfish.
Oh.
That word was like a terrible word for me. Like, what do you mean be selfish? And in my late years of life, I'm learning. It's a process. I'm learning to be selfish, but from a place of love and kindness. Because if you don't give to yourself, you have nothing to give to other people. And on top of that, I'm a Libra. I like balance. So, you know, too much of anything is not good. We need mind, body, and soul.
Absolutely.
They're all connected. So, you know, again, it's bite sizes. So if it's 5 minutes of quieting your mind, I used to stress over that when someone said meditation. I'm like, oh, I got to find the right meditation. I got to do this. I got to do that. I listen to the sounds of the waves now. I mean, you know, how much more simple can you get? I dance. You want to get into the flow? Put music on loud and dance like nobody's watching. That is my number.
And who cares if they are watching? It's about time that you do what makes you feel good.
Good point, Glenda. Who cares who's watching? I love that.
Or if you're reading, you know, you don't need to read a whole book. For me, as I'm brushing my teeth, I listen to Abraham Hicks and Joe Dispenza, and I'm sitting there brushing my teeth and I'm laughing my head off. I don't have an intention with it. It's just, I'm just listening and I'm absorbing. But with saying intention, you do want to set an intention every single day, because that's your why. And so I do. Every morning I set an intention. So there's all kinds of little things. But as a whole, we think, oh my God, I don't have time for all of that. But when we make time, and again, in short little bite-sized pieces, then all of a sudden you're going to notice how you're showing up for your children, for your ex, for your friends, for people that you meet. You'll be at the grocery store and you'll just smile at people. I mean, I went to the grocery store and I was smiling at someone, which I always do. And all of a sudden she screams, Lea? And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm just doing what I always do. She knew me. And I hadn't seen her since she was a baby. And it was just hilarious. So, I mean, it's really wonderful on the other side of it.
And that's what we want to, this show is about, to make sure that people know that, you know, we all have to go through certain storms in our life. But once you get through and you get to the other side, the sun does shine.
And then you're going to go through something else. You're going to go through more contrast, and that's okay. Because we're building those blocks of how to handle it, the tools, the skills, how to handle things in our life. So we are not just sitting there reacting to everything, right?
No, and it's also looking back and looking at your accomplishments.
Yeah.
Just to make it through a day, that you've made it through a day well, or even if you've had to go into court and you've managed yourself. These are all accomplishments that you need to look at yourself with. I
just don't want people to think that if they end up in another contrasting experience, that to look at themselves and say, oh, I don't have it figured out. We're always going to have contrast challenges in our life.
Always.
But welcome them, because they are opportunities. They're opportunities not only for us to get clarity on what we want, but they're opportunities for co-creation with other people, right? So I look at that, and I'm saying this from experience. Every time I was like, oh, I thought I dealt with that, and oh my God, here I go again. And I realized, one second, those, first of all, that's always going to happen. And again, it's happening for us because there's something we need to learn.
Right. And you know what? And that's what makes us, it does make us stronger. It makes us a lot wiser, because we can look back. And if we didn't handle things right, so here's another thing. There's times when you didn't handle the situation right. But let me tell you, when something like that comes up again, there's going to be a bell that goes on. There's going to be something in you that will help you deal with it. and you'll handle it in a better manner than you did the first time.
Yes.
That's so true. Your muscle memory, I think, kicks in sometimes, and it just clicks. It's like, I remember this. I'm not going to do what I did before. I've learned from it, and I'm going to take a different route.
And even way before that, if we didn't handle something different, if we didn't handle something the way we wanted to handle it, right away we would start asking ourselves questions. Why? What's underneath that? Why? And we uncover it so that next time it won't even happen. But I'll tell you something. We also get a lot of information from we get more information from the things that we don't do as opposed to what we do. And so again, these are all things I used to beat myself up over, but that's just information, right? So it's very powerful.
Yeah, it's important to listen to that information, intuition, your gut, your heart. I mean, when you're in tune with your body after divorce, more so than during, because during it was just fight or flight for me. And when I look back, I'm so different now. And I can actually think logically, or, if I do this, this is the outcome. If I don't do this, that's the outcome. And that's a huge difference for me in how I handle situations with my kids or my ex or with anybody anymore. And if you would have told me a few years ago, I'd be sitting here doing this with you ladies, be like, nah, that's not going to happen, So it is a journey. It's an absolute journey into yourself and what you're capable of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just remember, when you're going through all these things, the more you know about yourself, know about your life, about your financial situations, the better you are. The one thing I say that's really important, and during the times when things are quiet, you write down things and you write down information about yourself, because when you're in the storm of things, we have a harder time remembering those things. So don't hesitate to be carrying a book around you during the time and make notes of things that you want, where things are, or what you do have in your relationship, know your financials, things like that. The more you know, the more questions you ask when you go to your lawyer and so forth. And then later, make those notes to yourself. It really helps you organize yourself mentally for what is in store for you next.
Yeah. And don't laugh, but one thing I also learned was stay hydrated.
Yeah.
I know it sounds funny, but I had a friend of mine say to me, I remember when we were in a meeting and she said, I want you right after, because you're in there for a while, go have something cold to drink. And she was right, because I felt drained, but what I was dehydrated. So obviously there's stuff that we need to do in order to, some tools and skills when we're in the meeting, but I'm just saying, like, staying hydrated, it sounds silly, but yeah. And learn how to deep breathe. Because I remember being in there and he'd say something that would piss me off and I would breathe through it. And it makes a difference, because usually I'd hold my breath.
Then you'd pass out and we'd have to pick you up off the ground. Okay, prop her up, put her back, let her go.
Yeah.
On to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? It does take a lot of yourself to hold yourself back from saying. But sometimes, if you can just actually sit back and listen, no matter how hard it might be, when you learn to have that being caution and listen on a different level, it will help you down the road. So instead of jumping at something, give yourself a minute between the conversation. And if you have to speak out, you're allowed a minute to think, to breathe, to digest the thought that's being said. You don't need to jump in with an answer automatically at any time, no matter where you are. And that is even through all of our life. That's a very important thing that we need to realize, that when somebody directs a question at you, you can actually say, you know what, I'm going to stop for a minute. I just need to think about that.
Absolutely.
Beautiful, Glenda. So wise. So wise.
I'm not really sure about that. Just give me a second to think about it. And when they do say something to trigger you, before you've done all the work to figure out your triggers, just say to yourself, okay, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want out of this? Because we could sit here till tomorrow. He said, she said, he did this to me, they did this to me, whatever, but I'm not going to get anywhere, right?
Right.
So save that for the supports that you have waiting for you. And it's like, okay, well, so what do I want to walk out of here with, right? And whatever I'm not happy with, you say, I need time to talk this over with my lawyer, or I need time to think about this. You don't need to succumb to their wishes, because again, we're all trying to protect ourselves and do what is in our best interest. But a lot of times there's that fight or flight or freeze, right?
And and remember, the small wins, like, they don't add up. So really, when you're looking at things, you know, instead of looking at the piddly things, whether it's the couch or the car or the things like that, you know, look at, just like you said, the big things are more of what you're looking to come away with, probably more of dealing with your kids, things that are really important.
Yeah, because we tend to spend a lot of time convincing them what they did wrong, why you're acting the way you're acting or reacting the way you're reacting, and
Right.
why, and why, and why. And they're not going to hear you. They're not going to get it. I spent years trying to do that. And it came to a point where it was like, hello, you're the one that needs to wake up here, not him. Right?
Right.
So,
you know, the old story of pick your battles.
Oh, I can just sit here and say, I'm so glad that part of my life is over with. And I picked up, and I truly walked so much brighter of a path after having gone through that. I lived in darkness and didn't know it until I stepped over the fear and entered the light, is the only way I can put it.
yeah,
That's beautiful.
that is
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So if you're watching this and you have any questions, you can be more than happy. You can call on any of us to be answering to you. Or Lea, do you want to give information on how people can contact you?
Absolutely. So my email is leah@personalchapter.com. I have my free community on Facebook, but it's a private community by invite only. So you can message me, and there we talk about everything, not just divorce. And so once a month, I have a theme, and we focus bite-size things to tackle. We get some home play if you'd like, and so it's all about, you know, adding more joy and confidence in our life. And it's, like I said, it's different themes every week. But of course, if you would like some more private attention, I do have free consultation with me. It's your personal chapter breakthrough session, and basically there, you know, you walk away with an empowerment plan, also a free resource that can help you start now moving towards where you want to be in a year from now, or, you know, however you're looking at it. And that's a free consultation. So basically, private message me on Facebook.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I think it should be noted, and we didn't know this when we invited Lea on, but Glenda and Lea both live in Canada, 15 minutes apart. So what are the odds of that? I just think this was meant to be today.
And I knew you had some friends in Canada. I didn't know which ones. So even when, you know, Glenda and I spoke about coming, I mean, it didn't even occur to me to say, are you one of the ones that live in Canada?
and then basically walking distance. No,
not walking distance.
No, it's a little bit of a, well, mind you, I could probably walk it, but it's a little bit of a drive. So, but you know, it's not far at all. When I looked and I saw where she lived, it's not too far from me as it is, but it's crazy. And, you know, there's reasons why we meet people.
Absolutely. I'm just going to be jealous when you have coffee without me. No.
You're going to have to come on over to Toronto.
Okay.
Well, we'll
Okay.
FaceTime you and we'll FaceTime
There
you.
you go.
during that
Yes.
time.
I don't want to miss out.
Don't come in the winter. You will not. miss.
Okay. No, I do like warm weather. So no, that's very cool that you guys get to do that.
Yeah, we're going to meet up soon for coffee.
Yeah.
Leah, can I ask you? Well, we've got a last few minutes left that you leave a little golden nugget that our people can listen or can hear from you for if they're going through this at this time in their life, what they can do.
I can leave you with my quote first of all, and that
Okay.
is, when you choose the music you want to dance to, you choreograph your life.
Oh, I like that.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
It all comes down to choice. And a lot of times we feel like we are not at choice. And know that you have choices, you just don't see them right now. And there is a whole other life waiting for you, full of love and light. And give yourself permission to be able to open that door.
Beautiful.
That is gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Nicole,
Thank you so much for having me.
oh, thank you for coming on, for shedding some light into this dark conversation, because that's the way a lot of people feel when they're going through this time.
Yes. And you know what? You don't have to do it alone.
No.
You really don't have to. And I always thought that I had to do it alone. And once I realized when you have someone in your corner that is not only a professional, but has that personal experience, and resonates. Again, it's not you have to do things this way because this is what I went through, but it's really about being at that in that space of resonating. I get it. I hear you. And where do we grow from here? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Nicole, would you like to give any last words before we leave today?
I'm going to relate my words to what I went through, and everything lies on the other side of the fear. Everything. Once you take that one step and don't look back, it's just like it clears the road, it clears your path, and you're able to walk it with ease and grace.
Can I just add to that?
Of
Absolutely.
course.
It's not fear that holds us back. It's our belief that what we fear is bad that holds us back.
True. Very true. Very true.
And remember in life, you know what? Sometimes we have to fall before we realize that when we get up, there's a whole world in front of us that we can actually shine in front of. So, ladies, thank you so much for today. It's another beautiful day. We've had a little bit of audio problems, it seems, today, but the show went on. So, at any point, we will be putting her links underneath this once we are off. And just remember, today's another day to shine. So enjoy it. Thank you very much, everybody, for allowing today and giving us some other beautiful, wise words of wisdom. I wish you would do, and I hope to God everybody is just healthy and wealthy, because when you have your health, you do have your wealth.
The